No, I've always been a proponent of cost of attendance. I've been pushing that agenda for a very long time. The current scholarship model is old and antiquated. It's 40 years old. So a football player, for example, gets room, board, books, and tuition. But we don't provide them that extra defined cost of attendance that each school defines, and it's different everywhere. Um, the best example I use that I feel is when you think about it. There's a number of athletes who grow up and they really don't become interested in going to college until maybe their junior year because their athleticism emerges. They may have aspired to just go work in the Ford plant, and all of a sudden they become this great athlete, and they're coming from families where their families didn't develop a war chest to support them to go to school. So those miscellaneous expenses aren't paid for. And so I'm a big proponent of paying for those miscellaneous expenses defined by the institution as the cost of attendance above and beyond the direct scholarship. So I'm a big believer in that. I'm also a big believer in finding other ways to provide financial support based upon what the student athlete needs. I am not a proponent of creating an employer-employee relationship, which changes the whole dynamics. At the end of the day, you get fired if you don't perform if you're an employee, and we don't want that. There's workers' comp. There's,
Yeah.
there's. So I hope that we don't get to that point. If we do, then the men's volleyball teams of the world and the gymnastics teams and all those teams is Saranada. So we do that. One of the challenges, this kind of goes to the new governance structure that's being designed right now for the top 5 conferences, the top 65 schools that have legislative autonomy. So there's a few schools that actually guarantee student athletes when you leave, if you want to come back and complete your degree, as long as you leave in good academic standing and complete your degree, then that school pays for you to complete that degree. And so we go back and forth every year between us and Oklahoma and the number of, we call it degree completion program, the number of student athletes who actually come back and complete their degrees. I was at Mike Conley, former basketball player's wedding on Saturday night, and had a great conversation with Greg Oden about, okay, what are you going to do next? And he's unsure, but it's a possibility he might come back, and even though he's a multimillionaire, we'll probably end up paying for his degree. We've always done that, and what the Big Ten is talking about and what's being talked about nationally, and that should be mandated for all schools to do that. I think health insurance was in there. Same thing. If you were playing for us and you broke your leg and you went to California to work and you needed to have surgery on that particular injury, then we take care of you. All schools don't do that. So what we're trying to do is create a standardization on some of those things that at least the top 65 schools will make sure they do. So yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get to that utopia, Tim, of never happened. It's been this for almost 30 years now. It's every year is something, and young people put themselves in positions where they just shouldn't be, and they need to learn that. I really think that Urban and his staff have done a great job of constantly educating, teaching, creating a culture where young men understand they need to walk away from situations. And I don't know the details around Tracy's deal, but it sounded like one of those things. Okay, fight's breaking out, time to go home. We all at that age went out. So, I recall when I went out and things were getting ready to escalate, time to go, And I think that's the main thing, is trying to educate them to be attentive of where you are and what's around you and walking away from things. And frankly, we're much better than we've been in a long time. We've had less incidents, not just in football, but across the board than we've had in a long time. So education is working to some degree, but having been in it, I know every summer we're going to have something. And 99.9% of the time, it happens in the summer. And so, it's just need to keep educating, and disciplining where appropriate. We need to provide all of our athletes due process. So Tracy's being provided that, but he's off the team until we know the outcome, and then we'll evaluate it based upon what the outcome is. So this is a tough deal. I feel for him because I can imagine what that was like, and he should have walked out. But again, it'll be it's always good if you have a chance to save a young person's trajectory in life. And so Urban and I chat. He'll get his feedback from his team of people, position coach and trainers and everybody around that young person, and then we'll talk about if we're going to bring him back, what's the best way to bring him back. Is there further suspensions with games? Is there requirements on behavior that he has to deal with? I mean, we put a lot of things in place if we bring a young person back that's made that level of a mistake. But first, we got to give them due process, because I've seen these things a million times, and sometimes what you're charged of is not right. So we got to let the due process take its course. But I'm always a huge believer, if we can save a kid, save them. If we have enough indication that from a behavior modification point of view, they're going to respond to us. I've also been in situations where, this is just not the right environment. We're just not the right teachers. So maybe this young person should be closer to home. I've been in those situations. They need to be around their dad or their mom and have that fist as opposed to just relying on us. So I don't know Tracy's case yet, but that's kind of how we look at it.
For Buckeye TV, I'm Hayden Grove.